Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Margaret Larson, and I am the Stakeholder Engagement Lead for the Distributed Energy Systems, or as we like to call it, DES Demonstrations Program at the U.S. Department of Energy's Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations, commonly referred to as OCED. Thank you for joining us today to learn more about the DES Demonstrations Program and the recently announced project selections. Before we begin this webinar briefing, I want to go over a few logistics. You can turn on live captions by clicking on Show Captions in your control panel. To turn on Spanish, please click on the Interpretation button in your control panel. Finally, you will be able to find a recording of this webinar and a copy of the presentation slides on our website in the coming weeks. Before we get started, please note that we can only discuss information that the DOE has already made publicly available. I also want to emphasize that we cannot discuss active or planned grant or funding opportunities. This includes funding opportunity announcements. My team and I are so pleased to speak with you today about the OCED and the DES projects that we have selected to enter award negotiations. In this briefing, we will discuss key information for each of the 3 selected projects, upcoming opportunities for engagement, and more information about our negotiations process. While we are not taking questions today, we invite you to share your perspective and feedback by reaching out to the email address we'll provide at the end of the presentation. Now I'd like to turn it over to Kelly Cummins, the Acting Director of OCED, to give a few opening remarks. Kelly?
Thank you so much, Margaret. As mentioned, my name is Kelly Cummins, and I'm the Acting Director for the Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations. I am thrilled to share that on September 30th of 2024, the U.S. Department of Energy's OCED, as we like to call it, announced up to $50 million of federal funding for 3 projects across Colorado, Massachusetts, and Virginia. These clean energy projects seek to help the U.S. develop more reliable, more resilient, and more cost-effective energy systems to better support our rapidly changing electric grid and the growth of electric vehicles, energy storage, and the electrification of buildings and industry. These distributed energy systems projects will help build an inclusive and equitable clean energy future, given that they support diverse, locally driven efforts that can be replicated. This gives us the opportunity to build a roadmap for other communities across the country to boost grid stability, reduce the impact of power outages, reduce energy costs, and also prepare against increased climate vulnerabilities. I also want to highlight something that we care deeply about in my office. We are dedicated to ensuring that the benefits of clean energy transition flow directly into the communities that we're investing in. Our selected projects are expected to expand local and regional workforce partnerships and generate local tax revenues, which would support essential public services and spur new economic opportunities. We're excited today to share how these 3 distributed energy systems projects selected for negotiations demonstrate these and other commitments to communities in more detail in this briefing. Once again, thank you for the opportunity to share these updates with you today. I look forward to our ongoing partnership as we work together to move towards a clean energy future. With that, I'll pass it back over to Margaret. Thanks, Margaret.
Thanks, Kelly. I'd like to start out by sharing a bit about OCED and our role within the Department of Energy. OCED was established December 2021 by the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, IIJA, more commonly known as the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law Bill, to scale the clean energy technologies needed to tackle our nation's most pressing climate challenges and achieve net zero emissions by 2050. The DES Demonstrations Program is an important part of the OCED's portfolio in support of OCED's mission to deliver clean energy demonstration projects at scale in partnership with the private sector to accelerate deployment, market adoption, and the equitable transition to a decarbonized energy system. We want to invest in projects in the safest and most transparent way possible. Community input not only shapes the specific projects OCED funds, but also shapes our comprehensive approach to building out the clean energy industry. This slide captures the OCED portfolio at a high level. We are a multi-technology office investing more than $25 billion in programs central to achieving our clean energy future. In addition to the DES Demonstrations Program, we're discussing today, our portfolio also includes programs from across the energy value chain, including regional clean hydrogen hubs, industrial demonstration projects, regional direct air capture hubs, projects in rural and remote areas, and more. I will now pass it over to my colleague Kenny to discuss the DES demonstrations program in more detail. Kenny?
Thank you, Margaret. My name is Kenny Court, and I'm the DES Demonstrations Program Manager here at OSED. In the next few slides, I will be describing the purpose and importance of DES, the different types of resources that go into creating distributed energy systems, and the DES Demonstrations Program at a high level. A distributed energy system is an aggregation of multiple distributed energy resources, or DERs, which are single assets such as distributed electricity generation from residential, commercial, and community solar power or wind power. Also thermal and electrochemical energy storage, residential, commercial, and industrial building loads powered by heating, ventilation, and air conditioning or HVAC systems, lighting systems or water heaters. And include electric vehicle and associated charging infrastructure, and the grid system, sensors, communications, and controls that connect them. DESs can be highly varied due to local grid topologies existing in new energy systems and community characteristics. However, they all have the potential to provide value to the communities and to the grid operations. So that there are some potential benefits of DES. Some highlights include reducing greenhouse gas emissions and improving grid stability, advancing energy and environmental justice by increasing electricity affordability and reliability, as well as reducing the pollution from alternative sources that can disproportionately affect disadvantaged communities. And finally, to lower energy costs for grid operators and energy consumers. We will go into more detail on these benefits in later slides. All right, now I'd like to take a minute to talk about the OSED DES program at large. The DES demonstrations program's goal is to build confidence that the design, control, and compensation approaches developed can be readily applied to other portions of the distribution grid and extended to other mixes of DERs, potentially extending the value of this approach to a more diverse set of communities, individuals, and entities as the distribution system continues to change. As Kelly mentioned, in September 2023, OSED sought applications for utility and private sector-led organizations with technical expertise to design and operate distributed energy systems that integrate high levels of variable clean energy resources. And then on September 30th of this year, OSED announced the selection of 3 DES demonstration projects that best exemplified the program goals to enter into award negotiations with DOE. You will hear from these 3 projects teams shortly, but first I will pass it back to Margaret to discuss community benefits.
Thanks. I want to spend a little more time talking about OSED's overall approach to community benefits. Each DES project was required to develop a community benefits plan, or a CBP, to ensure that local communities and workers are engaged in these projects and from the onset and receive concrete benefits. And OSED will provide robust project management oversight of the CBP implementation throughout the project lifecycle. OSED's engagement with communities and tribes is beginning during negotiations, while we work with the selectees to strengthen their community benefits and incorporate input. If OSED awards funds these projects, the community benefits will evolve as the projects are developed, resulting in measurable impacts, and those communities will be shared publicly. CBPs have 4 interdependent parts. First, community and labor engagement, which seeks to involve those impacted in decisions that affect them and create projects responsive to the needs of the communities and workers. Second, diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, or DEIA, which seeks to help build a clean energy economy reflective of all Americans and ensure equitable access to wealth-building opportunities for all, especially for those facing systematic barriers to employment. Third, investing in the American workforce to build the skilled, long-term workforce needed to power the energy transition, create quality, family-sustaining jobs with the free and fair choice to join or form a union, and ensure quality jobs are open to all Americans. And fourth, the Justice 40 initiative to maximize project benefits, minimize harms, and support the goal that 40% of benefits benefits accrue to disadvantaged communities so that all communities can help lead the clean energy economy. Now that you have more context for the program and how it fits into our climate and equity goals, I will turn things back over to Kenny to share more details about the projects we've selected for award negotiations.
Thank you, Margaret. These projects plan to build grid resiliency and reliability and boost workforce development opportunities across 3 states, Colorado, Massachusetts, and Virginia. Across these 3 projects, 5 types of distributed energy resources will be used: solar generation, smart thermostats, electric vehicles, battery energy storage systems, and microgrids. This map shows where these 3 DES projects are located across the US. All 3 selected projects are in or adjacent to disadvantaged communities and will include a variety of distributed energy resources and management systems, or DERMS, aimed at improving reliability and resiliency in their project areas, demonstrating the potential for wider commercial adoption. All right. I will now pass it over to Travis Carless from Eversource Energy, the prime of the first selected project, Outer Cape Microgrid Optimization.
Thanks, Kenny. You could go to the next slide. The location of this demonstration project is in the Cape Cod region of Massachusetts, shown here on the right-hand side. The Cape Cod region, particularly the Outer Cape, faces unique challenges. For one, it's in a relatively remote area that's served by a single distribution line that's about 13 miles long, and it serves about 11,000 customers between the towns of Provincetown and Wellfleet, making it particularly vulnerable to peak load and extreme weather events, creating reliability issues. Now, traditional solutions to improve reliability in instances like this have proven to be not as cost effective. For example, adding a second distribution line would cost about $57 million, and the line will pass through environmentally sensitive areas. To address these reliability challenges, Eversource deployed a 25 megawatt battery in Provincetown, Massachusetts to serve as an anchor for its microgrid in 2022. However, a major limitation is that this microgrid is unable to leverage customer-owned DERs. And this project seeks to address this limitation by augmenting the current microgrid with a shovel-ready distributed energy resource management system, or DERMS for short, to coordinate and control customer-owned DERs to improve reliability even further. What makes this project worthwhile is that, in our estimation, there are many communities in the United States that are facing similar reliability challenges as Cape Cod is facing. For example, about 40% of the U.S. population lives in coastal regions, and a significant population also lives within rural and remote communities. The next slide, please. By utilizing a DERMS to leverage customer-owned DERs to augment the Provincetown battery, we will be able to cost-effectively improve reliability, resiliency, and provide benefits, which include reducing peak load by being able to dispatch up to 400 megawatts of DER capacity. We'll be able to compensate customers for providing local grid services, which would in turn incentivize more DER adoption. We'll be able to decrease carbon emissions and to maximize customer enrollment so that we can leverage these customer-owned DERs, as well as to maximize project benefits and reduce project costs. We have partnered with Cape Light Compact, which is a local energy services organization, as well as the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, or NREL for short. On the right-hand side, you'll see that there's a figure of the demonstration area with EJ communities in the blue. The microgrid area is in the orange box with about 22 megawatts of aggregate capacity. The microgrid expansion area is the area that you see in the pink box. The area within the dotted blue lines does not have a microgrid, but we're evaluating to see how large amount of DER capacity in the absence of a microgrid could be used to provide cost-effective value to the grid under different use cases. Overall, because our approach supports Massachusetts clean energy goals, we have received regulatory support. When we combine this with high DER penetration and the reliability need of the area, it presents a unique opportunity for the Outer Cape Microgrid Optimization Project, or for short, to serve as a future vision that could be deployed at scale and lessons learned could be shared. With respect to, can you go to the next slide? Thank you. With respect to our community benefits plan, we are estimating that it will benefit about 48,000 customers in EJ communities and about 3,200 members of the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe. Our inclusive engagement is geared towards working with community benefit organizations to improve DER access to environmental justice communities, promote workforce development by developing a clean energy jobs pipeline by partnering with the Cape Cod Community College, and creating a community advisory council where participants will be compensated to lead the deployment and implementation of our community benefits plan. Overall, our approach is aimed at ensuring that EJ communities are not left behind during the clean energy transition. And with that, it concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Travis. Now you will hear from Santosh Vida to share information about the Grid Flexor project.
Thank you, Kenny. I'm excited to be here to talk about our Grid Flexor project. Stands for Grid Integration and Demonstration of Flexible Energy Resources. The project would be led by Dominion Energy Virginia. It's one of the largest utilities, investor-owned utilities in the country. We serve around 2.7 million customers in Virginia and North Carolina. After the field demonstration in Suffolk, Virginia, we plan to scale up the outcomes as appropriate to the rest of our operating territory. We are also part of the PJM energy market, where implementation of FERC Order 2222 is imminent. A lot of the lessons learned from this project would help support with those aspects as well. I did want to highlight the member organizations that are part of the team: the National Renewable Energy Lab, Generac, Julius Education. The community stakeholders are a key part for us to execute on this project. We also have a lot of DEV vendor partners that we plan to partner with for reaching the objectives. Next slide, please. Grid Flexor broadly has two big components. First is being able to use NREL, advanced planning tools, to look at flexibility analysis. What is the impact of electrification? How are we able to take some of these electrified loads and make them flexible loads as resources for the grid? And then creating new programs that helps augment our existing capabilities. The second part would be a distributed energy resource management system, or DERMS for short, that will optimize the grid performance while leveraging all these assets that we have. Like I mentioned, we are part of the PJM market where FERC 2222 is imminent. We're also expecting to see doubling of load growth because of electrification as well as data center growth. By being able to use a lot of these flexible loads for grid support, we're able to think of DERs as a critical part to our grid operation strategy. And accordingly, we'll have the DER assets listed on the right, including demand-side management programs like smart thermostats, electric vehicles, EV telematics, electrification programs, including our school bus V2G programs, battery aggregation program. We're also looking at a couple of novel edge-optimized aggregation programs, along with traditional DERs like front-of-the-meter PV as well as battery systems. If you go to the next slide. Thank you. All of this work is going to be performed with strong community engagement at every step of the every step of the project. The demonstration site is Suffolk, Virginia. On the right is the map that shows the project area that will be part of the demonstration. This area includes around 10 circuits. It serves 10,000 residential homes, along with 1,300 commercial and industrial customers. This project area features urban, suburban, and rural areas that are very representative of our rest of our operating territory in Virginia and North Carolina, and it includes disadvantaged communities. We expect a peak load of 75 megawatts for this substation, but the DER capacity itself would be close to 150 megawatts. That shows how the grid can be operated with very high levels of renewables. Like I mentioned, a key focus of the project is making sure that our communities get a majority of the benefits from this project, including a community-driven advisory board. On the right side is a list of support letters we have received from our stakeholders about how enthusiastic and excited they are to participate in the project. A lot of the outcomes will be taken to our project community members through our community colleges, making sure that there are clean energy jobs that are created as an outcome of the project itself. In addition to the workforce development and educational opportunities, we would also have the opportunity for this community to have clean energy future, improving the grid resiliency, and making sure the clean energy adoption brings economic growth to this community, and then being able to provide a roadmap that we can use for the rest of the communities within our operating territory. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Santosh. I will now pass it over to Yashar Kanarangui to speak about the Primetime Virtual Power Plant project.
Hello, everyone. Glad to be here. So I will be kind of going over our Primetime VPP project. This project is in City of Boulder, and it includes over 4 feeders. And it's a combination of a rural community and the University of Colorado Boulder campus. Our partners are NREL, City of Boulder, and the university. Next slide, please. So basically, this project starts by realizing that Xcel Energy, City of Boulder, and University of Colorado Boulder have very innovative decarbonization goals, and our partners and Xcel Energy are aligned in these goals, and we see this VPP project as a vehicle for achieving these goals. Next project, please. Next slide, please. So again, this project is in City of Boulder area. Currently, we have a number of robust demand response and DER programs within the city. This includes solar, batteries, electric vehicle, and heating and cooling utility programs. And we plan to significantly expand these programs in the coming decade. As we see in the numbers here, we're basically including these, increasing these resources 2-3 folds. So our current technology stack is pretty limited in the vision we have for expanding these programs. For example, today we dispatch DR programs via our separate platforms, and that's very difficult for our dispatchers to get into each platform and dispatch resources. We're scheduling via legacy systems, and notifications sent are from third-party systems. So as we plan to extend these programs and leverage and optimize the grid, we need a more improved and more advanced technology stack to be able to dispatch and schedule via single integrated platform, which is scalable for our dispatchers to use, serving as an integration hub for third-party DERs as we envision more third-party DERs to be part of this VPP, and a centralized automatic notification strategy. So this VPP is more than just a technology stack. To enable technology, we also need organizational and process adaptation to enable this technology. For example, today we have limited visibility and control and more deterministic way of planning and operating the distribution system. Also, almost all of our demand response and DR programs are focused only on bulk system benefits and mostly use fixed incentive programs. So with the VPP framework, we are going to basically take this one level forward and use enhanced visibility and control, more dynamic planning and operations, and we will also be able to dispatch both distribution as well as bulk power system benefits, serving both systems. And basically, this is going to also require us to use incentive-based programs for customers for their DER services. Next slide, please. So ultimately, this VPP project is all about strengthening our communities, achieving a more sustainable energy future, as well as maximizing the benefit of customer DRs while keeping the grid reliable, resilient, in the face of increasing diversity and penetration levels of DRs. So basically, again, this VPP is going to help us to reach net zero responsibility. It's going to help our customers to receive incentives for their DER grid services and potentially improve the system reliability, as well as lower customer bills, as well as achieve equity in providing the community with resilient energy services. So with that, I will hand it back to DOE team.
Great. Thanks, Yashar. With that, I will pass it over to Margaret to explain what's next for this program.
Thanks, Kenny. This slide illustrates, right there. This slide illustrates the path of engagement from when a project applies to OSED for competitive funding to when it is awarded and moves through the project management phases. As mentioned previously, we're currently in the negotiations phase of the DES projects announced last month. These projects have not been selected for awards. During negotiations, the OSED team and the selectees will discuss how to make their projects more robust from a technical, financial, and community engagement standpoint. For projects that successfully complete the award negotiations process and receive funding for the award, there will be many, many additional ways folks can get involved. Each project will progress through a phased approach with up to 4 distinct phases. Engagement will be ongoing throughout all of these phases. Between each phase, DOE will assess the project's progress, including the quality of the CBP implementation, and will make a decision about whether the project should receive additional funding. We call this a go, no-go. This will allow selectees to build, improve, and actualize the community benefits plans over time, incorporating critical feedback and insights at each step. I want to emphasize that we are at the very beginning of the negotiation process. These projects will have to pass through several stages before any construction activities will start. Additionally, all projects receiving financial assistance from DOE must be reviewed under the National Environmental Policy Act to ensure every project gives proper consideration to the environmental effects before it is awarded. We have additional information on NEPA on our website, and my colleague just dropped this link in the chat. We are committed to ensuring your voice is heard in this process, and we look forward to receiving all your perspectives. On our website, you can find DES project summaries, which also include a summary of the proposed CBPs as identified in the selected project's application. We just put a link to that in our website in the chat. And we've listed ways that you can get involved here, including reaching out to the DES project teams or OSED directly. Please let us know via email if you'd like to receive additional information about local engagements that will be planned in the near future. For any questions or concerns, please reach out to OSED by emailing the address here in the slides. And please sign up to receive OSED news and updates. This is the best resource to stay in the know about OSED. And with that, thank you. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your week and day to hear about the DES demonstrations program and selected projects. We look forward to continued engagement, and please feel free to reach out. Thank you and have a good rest of your day and week ahead.